From the Starfire Sports Stadium in Tukwila, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to live coverage of STSPN's broadcast of the Washington 2A State Boys Lacrosse Championship. Hello, everybody. I'm Casey Bryant. With me is a state champion himself, Dylan Shope, bringing you tonight's game of the Selah Vikings taking on the Bainbridge Spartans. Selah coming in 7-5 overall against Bainbridge, who was 9-5 in the regular season. Dylan, these games are obviously so momentous for the students that are out there. What are the moments just before the opening face-off like for someone who's been there before?
I mean, not to go with the cliches right off the bat, but I will. It's really just another game. You come in with a lot of excitement. I mean, Starfire Sports is awesome. I mean, if you grew up watching the Sounders around the area, this is where they play, and the field's a lot wider, stadium's a lot noisier, and you're just really excited. You're going to listen to what your coach has to tell you before the game, and, you know, it's just all business out there. That's what I'd say.
These are two programs where one of those cliches in sports is always playoff experience, but these are two programs that don't have a whole heck of a lot of it when it comes to this level. Bainbridge playing in their first state championship game since 2011, Selah their first ever. So when you have two fledgling programs like this getting to their first game, it's obviously a lot of butterflies for two teams that have never really been in this spot before.
I imagine. And, you know, when I'm looking at both of these teams, Bainbridge Island comes in with a great strength of schedule. You know, this is a team that's a little bit more battle-tested than Selah, I'd say myself. You know, they had a big win against Selah to start the season by 1 goal. And then, you know, I talked to Coach Andy Constant, who's one of the assistant coaches on the staff, and, you know, he said the team's had some very strong quarters against some really impressive teams, and they're chasing 4 quarters of their best ball and feel the boys are peaking right now, and that's what's going to help them win it.
Absolutely. And you look at Bainbridge's road through the playoffs as well. They best Bellingham 16-11 in the first round, and then Ording in the semifinal 15-8.
Some high-scoring games.
Absolutely. And, of course, that's powered by Aaron Lawley, who we saw just before the game was honored as an All-American as a midfielder for Bainbridge. He's a terrific goal scorer, and when he's got the ball in his cradle, you know he's ever dangerous.
Definitely.
And when you got Selah, meanwhile, their playoff road, it's been awfully tight in their 2 games. An 11-10 win in round 1 versus Overlake, and then the semifinals, an overtime victory, 12-11 against Anacortes. Sometimes, I'm sure, when you feel the momentum on your side, you win a couple of games, you start to feel like a team of destiny, a team of magic, maybe.
I'd imagine. And speaking of magic, you know, that semifinal game for Selah, you know, 1 goal to force overtime and then 1 goal to win that game. So Selah's playing hot right now, and I talked to their coach as well. He says they play a brand of blue-collar lacrosse. So let's see that from Selah today.
Bainbridge will be running left to right on your screens in white pennies with blue trim. Selah, meanwhile, in navy blue with gold trim. Dominic Ayala on for Selah. Face-off won first by Noah Weiss for the Bainbridge Spartans, and away we go as Weiss distributes over to his right for Ethan Farley. And Farley will hop behind the goal and hand off the ball to Mitchell Heidemann. And Bainbridge establishing offensive presence as Nash Eyrich holds along the near sideline and will trot on over an airborne pass over towards Aaron Lawley, the junior. And Lawley inching his way forward, stutter stepping to his right, an ankle breaking move and a low shot, and he scores. My goodness, what a shot by Aaron Lawley.
That's just a nice split dodge. You got right up top. You know, he's not going to go down the alley to the left. He's going to use his right hand. Breaks the ankles of the defender. Sorry to say it. You know, places that one nice. It's a high to low. He changes the plane bottom left. There's a nice score right there.
Lawley striking just 31 seconds into play. He had 4 goals in the semifinal game against Ording, and the night before that, in their 16-11 playoff win against Bellingham, Lawley 3 goals and 4 assists. He's had 8 multi-goal games, 5 hat tricks over the course of the season. He has been sensational as an anchor offensively for Bainbridge. Next face-off is loose in the circle, reaching out, kicking at it are Bainbridge. Jostled over towards those yellow hash marks over on the far side of your screen. A hefty battle for it. Reaching for it, Selah, as Blake Flowers vying for the ball. And finally, a whistle will blow and possession ruled for Bainbridge. You always hear that old cliche, Dylan, of, you know, the game is won on the ground. How important are those ground balls and the fights for possession for face-offs here as we get a low to high shot that is turned away?
That one, for sure.
That's a terrific save.
Ground balls win games. I mean, that is the saying I grew up hearing playing for Mercer Island just up the road. It's everything, because think about it. Ground balls lead to possession, and if we're doing the transitive property, possession leads to winning the game and shots and goals, and everything good comes from getting the ball.
Sam Fredrickson carrying the ball upfield for Selah, and a shot that goes well
We're
wide.
going to get a goalie chase. He wins that one. We used to call that Clifford.
That's great hustle there for Hugh Fields, the junior, getting the starting goal for Bainbridge. Fields in the playoffs is 15 for 34, a .441 save percentage for the Spartans. Opposite him, Seth Melton, who had a terrific stop just moments ago. Up the right side, and a rejection and a loose ball on the near sideline, a possession to Selah. That's terrific defense there by Fredrickson. Fredrickson, the junior midfielder. Up ahead for Seth Height, the senior. On the left wing, gets it up towards the center of the offensive zone, inching his way in, Isaac Perez. And Selah slowing things down to a glacial pace. Over towards the right side for Ian Ziegler. The sophomore up the right side. Round behind over to the ever-dangerous Grady Andrews. Andrews, 4 goals, 3 assists in their semifinal game. Pops it in front, and it's batted away by Hugh Fields. Quick passing upfield, past a stick and scooped up and settled down with great anticipation there by Henry Morshed. Morshed takes a couple of hearty chops to the midsection, over towards his right, finding Ethan Farley. Farley directing traffic from behind the net. Picking up some speed, charging out to the far post, looking for a lane to the net. It's completely closed off there by Peyton Henkel. And around behind the net once more. Held on to by Mitchell Heidemann. Heidemann fakes to his left, cuts to his right, looking for the backdoor feed, and they score!
Feed right there to the crease. That was a great job. Off the dodge, the inverted offense really works because you got the goalie's head turned away from the rest of the players. You got one to focus on dodging. As soon as you know it, he passes it right off onto the crease. That's a 1-yard shot. You know, he places it right spot there for the goal.
Ethan Farley with the goal, 16-time goal scorer in the season. 35 total points. He gets the helper there from Mitchell Heidemann. And Heidemann had himself a hat trick in the semifinal, 4 goals in round 1, but this time he's playing facilitator. So much of offense in lacrosse can come from those dangerous areas right behind the net there. Dylan, as you're seeing the opening kind of taste of how Bainbridge has been organizing their offense, it seems like they want everything to flow from X right behind the net.
So far out of X, you know, you had that one split dodge from up top, but I think just Bainbridge is being really aggressive right now. They're taking hard dodges, making the slide come, finding the open guy. It doesn't get more simple than that.
Ethan Farley will hold on to it from way behind the net. Flicks it over towards his right for Heidemann. And Heidemann will slow things down as Bainbridge will get a substitution. Trotting off the field, Noah Weiss. And he'll be replaced by Aaron Lally. And Lally wants a bounce pass his way. He'll find it. And Lally trotting in with a defender right in front of him. He shakes on by him. Lally looking down low on a rising shot. They score. Henry Morshed.
Once again, another crease feed right there. Selah's really got to tighten up. You know, get the guys into the box. There's a 10 by 10 yard box. When you're playing lacrosse that on defense, you want to pack the guys in. That's the last place the ball should go. So if I'm Coach Josh Davenport for Selah right now, I'm telling the team just to pack it all in and make sure no guy gets the ball on the crease.
And that is the second time that we've seen the footwork there of Aaron Lally helping facilitate a goal. The first goal of the game was him doing it himself. That time he finds Morshed down low, and Morshed, that's his 6th goal of the playoffs. And he has been fantastic. A strong start for Bainbridge, and they win another faceoff as Noah Weiss spin-a-rama into the offensive end. He's hauled down from behind. A flag will fly. And play will be blown dead with 8:22 left in the first quarter. Well, Selah's going to have something here that slows down this Bainbridge offense, because right now, possession, the pressure, the passing, it's all going the way of the Spartans.
I believe that's going to be a 1-minute slash. We'll see.
And indeed, it will be a penalty being assessed against Selah, and this will open up some even more space for the Spartans. Spartans were 4-0 in league play. Selah were just 2-5. But Selah has won a couple of tight games to get to this point. Lally sends it over towards Foose. Miles Foose quickly working around the perimeter. Farley over to Heidemann behind the net. Heidemann lofts it up into the air, taking and a bouncing shot. They score. It is Morshed with his second of the game.
Another inverted, but this time on man up. You got the pass from X all the way up top. And that's just a time and room right there. He had all the time in the world. Make sure he gets all the power on that shot. The bouncers here are really important. You've probably talked about it all day, Casey. This field, contrary to popular belief, it's not actually bouncy. It absorbs the speed a lot, and so it messes up goalies and trips them up because they expect it to, carry that speed in the shot, but it's really like a changeup in baseball, I'd say. So the bouncer is really something you want to utilize when you're playing in this game.
That is really interesting because for all the other sports that this complex is used for, you see the Seattle Seawolves logo donned around here for rugby. You mentioned the Sounders have used this as a facility before. Those aren't sports where you want a lot of bounce, really. You want to be able to keep it controlled and within your body. So for a sport like lacrosse, I would imagine that kind of hinders your ability to have things get really bouncy or skippy.
Definitely.
Farley looking again. Holding on the far side post is Morshed. Morshed cutting in and turned away. Gets the rebound and he scores. A natural hat trick for Morshed. The senior with his 9th hattie of the season. And the Spartans in complete control. They lead at 5-0.
Just an absence of sliding here from Selah, I'm seeing. And a hat trick in the first quarter is not what you want out of one guy if you're Selah's defense.
Well, Henry Morshed, the senior attackman. His best game came back, if you flash it all the way to March 24th against Peninsula, where he had 7 goals, 3 assists. Couple that with 5 grounders and a 17-9 victory with 10 points. He pretty much made the difference between victory and defeat there for the Spartans. And possession will be to Selah. As they get the ball back for the first time in a long time, Dylan, what do you want to see from this offensive possession?
You want to slow it down. You want to take the time once you get this possession. Things have been hectic. Your defense has been playing for a while. That's something you tend to forget once you get the ball in offense. I played attack. So, when we get rid of the ball after the defense just played, 4 3-minute long possessions on against the other team, you want to get that ball back, spin it around a few times, and then get a dodge going.
Isaac Perez will slow things down as Dominic Ayala calls and receives over towards midfield. And he'll start ahead with some speed. Blows by a defender. Ayala stepping in, a shot that misses wide. But possession still to Selah. Grady Andrews taking the step up. And you see Selah trying to attack directly towards the net there. As here's Andrews losing control of the ball. And he'll cough it right up there for Selah.
Tough turnover for Andrews. You never want the ball to drop out on your own.
And he's a long way away. Is that perhaps gripping? The old expression, at least in hockey, is gripping the stick too tight when you're in a kind of anxious situation.
Could be for sure. Sometimes when you're nervous, the cradling doesn't quite go how you want it.
There's a low shot. There's a terrific save by Seth Melton in goal. Flags will fly as the ball skips all the way down the length of the field. Seth Melton on a low shot turns the net around. And catches that by the shin and will get a penalty assessed. 6:38 remaining in the first quarter. It is already 5-0 in favor of the Bainbridge Spartans. And Selah will get possession of the ball as it looks like they'll have a penalty and some open space to work with. Ranging on over is Sam Fredrickson, and he'll start up the offense here for the Vikings. Over on the right side, around behind the net to Andrews. Andrews fakes the pass one way, now looking for the alley-oop, and they score. Seth Height gets the Vikings on the board.
Great cut by Seth Height there. That's the thing. That defender's got to split the 2v1 there, so just cut to net. You got a 2-yard shot right there, bounces it.
Height with a goal and 3 assists in their semifinal overtime win at Anacortes. In the regular season, 13 goals on the season, 23 total points in 14 games played. And he takes the feed there from Andrews. You get the sense that the Vikings will go as far as Andrews takes them as the main facilitator of the offense behind the net. Battle for the ball in midfield, won by Bainbridge. And out with it the other way is Noah Weiss. Hops it over to his right for Ethan Farley, the senior. Behind to Heidemann. Heidemann already with a couple of assists so far in the contest. Hops it out towards the high slot. Low shot, they score. How about another? Henry Morshed, his 4th of the quarter, and we're only halfway through.
Woo! Look at that. Just beats his man with a nice speed dodge right there. Bouncer, bottom left. That corner's been taking it today.
And he's gotten that feed. That's how he scored at this point. 3 of his 4 goals is from that exact position. Do you start to make those adjustments there if you're Selah?
I think a little bit. I think you probably press out once they get to X, make them run out to the sides. Keep the ball where you can see it up top. Guys will tend to ball watch, too, on defense, too, when the guy's behind X. Everybody's so worried. But he can't score. Unless he dodges above goal line extended, he cannot score. So you got to worry about your man up top.
And they have tried attacking Seth Melton down low. Melton on a personal 4-game win streak. He was 6-1 in his last 7 starts heading into this one. Right now, Bainbridge has been able to impose their will. Bouncing ball over by the near side post. Ranging over and scooping it up. Over towards the near sideline. And that is Tyler Huffines ranging over and losing possession of the ball for Selah. So possession now to Bainbridge. And on the right side, Henry Morshed. Giving possession to Aaron Lally. Lally stutter stepping, cutting to his right, spinning over to his left. Lally sends it far post, rising shot off the outside of the net. And as Ethan Farley tried to dunk it home from the far side. Up into the air, and it lands over the head of Perez. 5:15 remaining in the first quarter. It is 6-1 Bainbridge. Nash Eyrich, the senior, stepping ahead over to his right. Sending over to the far side post. Long shot, they score. Mitchell Heidemann.
Another time and room shot right there. Just a nice step down. He puts it far pipe. If you're Selah there, you got to extend out. You can't have guys, 7-7, just taking shots. It's ripping it like it's almost batting practice.
And that is a terrific setup there again. And Bainbridge, everything they're setting up is falling for them. And you give them a ton of credit. They are executing the game plan to perfection. Five minutes still to go in the first quarter, and we have seen a high-scoring contest. The first 2 games of the day were relatively low-scoring. Well, Bainbridge bringing the offense, and check out the speed flash here by Noah Weiss. Weiss sends it over, quickly back in. A shot is catched caught out of the air by Seth Melton. Skied up towards midfield. And it seems like every shot, too, Dylan, is getting through to the netminder. That's another important thing. There's not a ton of blocks happening, as there's another one that whizzes by the net. That one came off the stick of Miles Foose.
Yeah, it's really just great shot placement by Bainbridge so far. I think in the Mercer Island game for sure, you noticed this a little bit, is like, can't shoot right to the goalie's stick. And that last one really was right to Melton's stick. So, you got to place it where the open net is. Easier said than done, though.
Well, if you're Melton, I'm sure you want to feel that ball in there. There's a setup in front, and they score. Miles Foose taking that backdoor feed, and there's yet another goal for Bainbridge. That is their 8th.
It's great offensive scheming by Bainbridge here. Foose is just going to cut. And, it's a cross crease feed right there. But, to me, it looks like Bainbridge has practiced those all year because they're making them really easily in the first quarter right now.
Now, a timeout will be called with 4:16 left in the first quarter, and we'll take a timeout ourselves as we recount all of the scoring that has happened here early in the first quarter. 4:16 left. It is 8-1 Spartans. Back in a minute on STSPN's YouTube. Casey Bryant, Dylan Shobe back for STSPN's live broadcast of the Washington 2A State Championship for boys lacrosse. It is 8-1 Bainbridge over Selah. Dylan, in a timeout like that, if you're in the Selah huddle, if you're the coach, if you're Josh Davenport, what is being discussed to try to get things back on the right footing?
Well, once we get the ball, if I'm Davenport, I'm telling the offense to slow it down once again, get it around a few times, just around the horn, 2 or 3 times before you're dodging, just to get possession settled. And then for defense, I think a lot of guys don't have their head on a swivel right now. They're not watching the guys cutting to the ball. That's leading to more goals. And then inverted, you want to force them out of what they're comfortable with. And I think Bainbridge is dodging from X a lot right now, so make them dodge up top.
Dylan Jones winning the faceoff there for Bainbridge and establishing possession with the long stick work. Hands it off on the far sideline, and a job well done there by the senior Jones. As Bainbridge gets back to work, Lally fresh out from the sideline. Quarterback in the offense as he starts ahead, and you have to give Lally some respect as a defender because he can beat you one-on-one. Edges on over to his right, a low shot, and they score. Yet another goal, the 5th of the contest for Henry Moorshed.
Another crease feed right there. Not to sound like a broken record, you've got to have a stick on hands in the crease. The guy shouldn't be getting the ball in there.
And that's one where Lally gets the assist. And, you mentioned trying to give a guy like that some respect and give him some separation so that he doesn't breeze on by you. But when you do that, you almost give him too much time and space to make his decisions.
Definitely, it's a bit of a balance. I played not a lot of defense over on the attack side of the field, but up top with Mitty, you want to run with them and also just kind of hold your stick out there. Just make it hard for them to see. That's all you can really try to do.
A carrying right off the face-off, and a shot by Noah Weiss is turned away by Seth Melton. Selah will get the ball back, and Selah ranging upfield. Dominic Ayala completely harangued on his way towards center. Ayala trying to protect. Skips it over towards the center circle, intended for Grady Andrews. Still jostling at the circle, and a great battle there by the Spartans. Off the left side. And that's just the extra battle level. You can tell right now that the Spartans have a little bit of extra juice. When you know that you've got a first quarter that's going as well as it is, Dylan, the energy on the Bainbridge sideline, that's got to be palpable. That's going to carry you through the rest of the contest.
Definitely. You want to get started up hot early, come out there, win every single ground ball, and that's really what Bainbridge Island is doing right now. I'm not seeing Selah have the same amount of fight in them on the ground balls, and that's going to lead to you getting the ball, like I said, and getting more goals, more possession leads to better things. So just fighting for the ground balls right now is all I would say Selah needs to focus on.
In a situation like that where Dominic Ayala, is a terrific midfielder there for Selah, but he's got 3 white pennies all around him. There's nowhere for him to go. He's been completely clamped down on by the near sideline.
Some sort of a swarm call with that. That's what we'd have at MI. The ball drops on the ground. We'd have a few practices where we just do drills, passing it around. And once the whistle blew, we would throw in a ball. We'd stop playing the ball with the ball that was passing around, and everybody would swarm to go get the ground ball. So as soon as the ball hits the floor, everybody's got to be on it.
Now, you've played at this field a couple of times, and it's 9-1 here with 3:41 left in the first quarter, and you've won a state championship here. That first time that you won a title with Mercer Island, what were the emotions like when you were able to finally call yourself a champion?
It was amazing because the year prior in 2022, we lost to Bellevue, same team I played all 3 years. So I was on the sideline watching that game, and I just remember feeling really awfully for the seniors that, worked their butts off all season. And to avenge that loss as a junior with the guys who also kind of lost on the field too, as when they were juniors the year prior, it felt amazing to, just then avenge the loss because, there's a way to pass down and, people teach you how to work hard. So they kind of taught me how to play the game in a way. So it was more of a shared moment, I'd say.
And you have to feel like that first time through helps set up the next time. You come back all the hungrier, right? Those games, as holding on to it is Moorshed, and he punts in looking for more, and he's turned away by Melton. Sometimes defeat can help inspire victory that next time through.
Defeat inspires, winning inspires sometimes, but I think winning can also make you complacent too. Is like Nick Saban would have kind of a nothing speech is whenever his team was doing really well, that's when he'd rip into them because that's when a lot of people say, oh no, we're good, we can relax. But if you win, everything resets the next day after Memorial Day weekend.
There's an excellent shot there off an excellent point, and a riser from the near side post, and that's just over the left shoulder of Seth Melton. And the Bainbridge Spartans have hit double digits with still 2:57 left in the first quarter. And again, that's another feed from X, set up from behind by Mitchell Heidemann.
Blows it past the goalie there, right there, too.
So a terrific shot, a riser, and the Bainbridge Spartans in full control. Stripped up off the faceoff was Noah Weiss, and a whistle will blow, and possession will be settled down for Bainbridge. Finn Walker carrying in for the Spartans. Distributes over towards Ethan Farley. Farley, Heidemann in his usual spot. He's marked by Drew Miller, the junior. Miller, a hulking presence on defense. Breezing by him, Heidemann gets a pass down low for Farley. It's between the legs of the netminder Melton and settled down by the Vikings.
Now you see Selah actually adjusting to that crease feed right there. They knew it was coming. They had two guys ready there. You got to be there. That's perfect right there.
Over towards the far sideline. Miller under a little bit of pressure. Skies it into the air into his own crease. And some pressure for Chase Bugney to settle things down. And Bugney will loft it way into the air looking for Andrews. And that equates to a punt as that is picked up by the Bainbridge Spartans. And the pressure has been so relentless there for the Spartans. They're forcing mistakes even in front of their own crease. As Bugney gets it up into the air towards midfield. Chopped out of the cradle of Seth Height and picked back up by the Spartans. Selah having a devil of a time establishing any kind of offensive zone time. As out towards the high slot, it's Heidemann. As a body in front of him with a minute remaining in the first quarter. Heidemann carries it in. A shot over the shoulder of Melton. He scores. Heidemann gets in on the action with his second of the quarter. His fifth point.
It's going to be a pick and roll up top. He dodges right alley. Slide comes a little too late. Just gets a nice shot off.
And make it 11 now with 56.5 seconds remaining in the first quarter. In what has been a dominant showing for the Spartans. Now you talk about, you mentioned Nick Saban, and that's such a great example of, never getting too satisfied with and what you're seeing now, which is a great success level. The little things are still going Bainbridge's way. They're still winning all these faceoffs. And look at the quick passing and the dunkaroo from the near side post. My goodness, is that pretty.
Yeah, speaking of, those details and the little things adding up, I talked to Coach Constant for Bainbridge. He told me that this weekend's a game of moments where executing the play in front of you is key. Adding it up at the end of the game, Bainbridge should be happy with the result.
That is a terrific setup there for Caston Rosenfeld down low, who gets his second of the game. 48.5 seconds remaining in the first quarter. I mean, there's very little impediment for them. There's no easing off the throttle no matter how dominant the first quarter this has been.
I don't blame them. They shouldn't take the foot off the paddle.
Now, if they're going to give you that kind of space, you might as well take it. And if you take a look at Bainbridge's season so far, as possession is finally picked up by Selah, and they'll meander on into the offensive end and slow things down. Out towards midfield, Isaac Perez, the senior. Over to his right for Dominic Ayala. Ayala sheds a defender. Ayala carrying in. A shot turned away. Loose ball over at the far post. Battle for it behind the net is won by Bainbridge. And Bainbridge's most successful game came back on March 24th when they scored 17 against Peninsula. They also scored 16 in their opening round game against Bellingham. That was their second most. And they scored 12 in the first quarter as it comes to a close. What an unbelievable start in the state championship game for the Bainbridge Spartans. How do you summarize a quarter like that, though?
A lot of dodging, a lot of X action right there. And Bainbridge is being savvy. They're cutting. feeding the crease when they can, taking good shots. I mean, I have no notice for the Spartans right now.
Complete control for the Bainbridge Spartans, up 12-1 at the end of 12 minutes. We'll take a brief timeout here on STSPN's YouTube channel. Casey Bryant and Dylan Shobe, don't go anywhere.
SWCC is an acronym, and it stands for Special Warfare Combatant Craft Crewman.
You know, you can stand across from the guy and say, you know what, he's got your back, and you know that's the guy you're counting on. If something goes wrong, he's going to be there.
In the end, we're fighting for each other.
Here on a team, about 22 of us on the boat. You know them personally, so you know exactly whose life you have in your hands.
Everyone's come together, and everyone's sole mission is to do their job individually as best they can to benefit everyone else in the boat.
I got a brotherhood, and it's a real brotherhood, and it's a loyal and honest brotherhood, and that's what matters.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to live coverage of the Washington State 2A Boys Lacrosse Championship. Casey Bryant here with Dylan Shobe, recounting all the scoring action in the first quarter as the Spartans leapt out in front 12-1 thanks to 5 goals from Henry Morshed, 2 goals as well from Mitchell Heidemann and from the freshman Kasten Rosenfeld. And a dynamic start to the contest. And the journey of 1,000 miles has to begin with a single solitary step, Dylan. So if you are Selah, you have to be able to have a short-term memory and reset here for the second quarter.
You want to be a goldfish. You want to get out there really hot in the second quarter right here. You're going into half, and whatever speech Coach Josh is going to have for the Vikings, it's got to be good too.
I hope he practiced a whole bunch of scenarios, the up close, the down close, the up big, the down big, because they're all different tonally speeches. And so Bainbridge will run right to left on your YouTube screens in white, Selah in navy blue running left to right. Battle for it at center, Selah hauled down and the flag will fly. Bouncing ball is scooped up by Bainbridge and will get a whistle and a stop. And there was heavy contact right off of the center faceoff there to start the quarter. A heightening of physicality may be exactly what Selah needs, though, if only just to set some kind of tone, some kind of pace for the second.
You got to hit somebody for sure if you're Selah.
And so the Vikings will have some offensive pressure to work with to start off the second quarter, 15 seconds into the frame. Walter Record will hold on to it at the yellow dash marks on your screen. Seth Height and Andrews are lurking down low by the net front over towards the right wing. And a set play back out to the high slot, looking down low. Pass intercepted by the long stick of Odin Olsen. And Odin Olsen has it completely whacked out of his hands. Possession back to Selah. Blake Flowers in on the attack. Flowers spinning with the ball, slowing things down. That was great pressure applied as Noah Wamsley spins with it, skies it into the air, picked up by Ayala. Nice evasive move and a low shot that misses wide.
That's going to be a defensive chase. Good effort by Bainbridge there.
And that is a terrific effort, as you mentioned, by Odin Olsen, again making a nice defensive play. Had the stick knocked out of his hands on one rush, but is able to redeem himself. And Olsen will wind up and heave this one downfield. Hops over the cradle, but Bainbridge nudging this ever closer to the goal. Heidemann battling for it, as is Farley. And it'll be Heidemann picking it up. Still digging and held by Heidemann. And back out towards Nash Eyrich. And you can hear some plaintive Selah fans from the stand saying, hit somebody, as they're trying to vie for the loose puck there. Heidemann around a defender, hits it off the back of the net. And Selah will take possession as Seth Melton will slow things down. Melton twirling with it over towards his left. Selah under some heavy pressure as he's marked by Morshed. Out deliberately is Chase Bugney. And a whistle will blow and possession will be deemed in favor of Bainbridge. You see Bugney has been under some heavy pressure on the defensive side there. He's a bigger body, not quite as fleet of foot as you see Henry Morshed, who has been one of the speedier players on the field so far today. Finn Walker, the sophomore. Walker takes a shove. A nice little check there from Jason Clark.
Seeing a lot of picks up top for Bainbridge, trying to get something going there. Big pass and a shot and a score for Bainbridge. Not to take the play-by-play from him.
Not at all. Hey, the play developed so naturally. Yeah. And make that a double hat trick for Morshed. And that is a terrific setup there from Lally. As Morshed takes the feed, his 6th goal of the contest. And for Lally, meanwhile, by our count, his 4th point, his 3rd assist. Lally is the one that opened the scoring, but since then he's been playing pure playmaker.
Talking about that Lally feed, too, you see Bugney had his eyes right on Lally that entire time. Forgot about the man behind him. That's what happens.
Well, it seems like Selah has been turned every which way because right now Bainbridge has 4 or 5 guys they have to worry about that could shoot the ball with great velocity. Here's one of them, and there's a low shot, and they score on cue. Noah Weiss. Right off the face-off, a little do-it-yourself action, and Weiss gets in on the play.
Use that momentum off the face-off, just go down and just rip it on the run. Great bouncer right there, top left.
Weiss is one of the best ground ball guys in the entire division. He led the team with 134 ground balls heading into this contest. Played over the course of just 16 games. He's the only player on either side, other than Ayala, who has triple-digit ground balls. And you see the ferocity that he's approaching the face-off with each play. Here's another one where he's nudging behind a defender, battling, kicking, and flailing it into the offensive zone. And it sets up more good pressure here for Bainbridge. Miles Foose on the near sideline, back over to Heidemann. It is 14-1 Bainbridge with 9.5 left in the second quarter. Heidemann twirling around behind the net. A wraparound attempt is turned away by Melton, and he'll cough it up as Ayala steals it out of the air, and Ayala will swirl on by a defender over towards the far sideline. Hardy stick check, and Ayala loses control. Pushed over to the far sideline, and Ayala was completely marked there by Nash Irick. Powering into the offensive zone. There's a hard shot turned away, loose ball in front. And it's swept out by the Spartans. Good effort there by Sam Fredrickson on the shot.
Got good extension on that on-the-run shot. I like it from Fredrickson.
Good battle, and there's Fredrickson back in his own half of the field. Charging forward with possession of the ball, Fredrickson over to his left, and he's leveled. That'll be a delayed penalty as there's a shot that's sent right into the cradle of Seth Melton. Or check that of Hugh Fields. But nonetheless, a penalty being assessed against Bainbridge. It's a little thing, Dylan, but it certainly seems like whenever either team is in the offensive zone, you know, Bainbridge is having 5-6 guys get a touch of the ball. Right now, Selah, as they enter in, it's usually only 1-2 guys that have it in their cradle.
I think they're a little worried about speeding up the game, making up for all the goals that Bainbridge has put up. You know, you can't worry about that while you're playing. Just stick to the systems, everything that you've played all year. As soon as you abandon everything that the team has practiced all year, you're freestyling out there and you don't really know what you're doing.
And Selah is one of those teams that prides themselves on their philosophy and on their strategy and their X's and O's. You're someone that has gotten the opportunity to really get in depth with the sidelines here. You know, Selah has a defined identity that they do like to stick with.
They do. And, they're physical. They outwork opponents. They never quit on games. And their record shows that, in games decided by 2 goals or less, they're 8-1 this year. So it's sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I do understand what you mean, though, because when you're used to playing these tight games and you're used to being able to go back and forth and trading goals, when all of a sudden you find yourselves down by an avalanche of 14-1, it's overwhelming in that moment.
For sure.
Holding on the near side is Morshed, and Morshed with a bowling ball of a pass that is just out of reach of the long stick of Ian Ziegler. Over towards the far sideline, whacking it back into the Bainbridge zone. Hardy stick check and good pressure as you see fighting for the ball is Seth Height. And a smattering of applause for the effort there for Seth Height, the senior, one of the more talented goal scorers for Selah. Had 13 goals, 23 total points in 14 games played. As the Vikings get to work in the offensive end. Fredrickson calls and receives. Fredrickson over to his right. And an errant pass forced by Blake Flowers. Round behind the net, Andrews. Works his way by a defender, fakes the pass. Andrews in close, and he scores.
Like it fakes the pass, just keeps going above GLE. That's right there one-on-one with the goalie. Fakes high, it still goes high.
Andrews, his second point of the contest, had a primary assist back in the first quarter. And Andrews, who in the regular season had 28 goals that led the team 49 points, comes up with his first of the state championship, and it does stop the bleeding a bit after what was 9 unanswered goals for Bainbridge. And that is more of what I think Selah is used to doing there, Dylan, because you saw the way they spread the ball around. They were actually utilizing all of their weapons around for a set play. Center goes down for the ball. Ayala takes a whack up high, but retains possession of it. A flag will fly. Ayala will slow things down. Cuts into his right. Slows up. Ayala marked by a defender, up into the air. It lands in front of Flowers. Flowers has Andrews waiting behind the net. Flowers fakes one way, loses his footing a bit. Flowers, a 25-time goal scorer, second on the team, gets a pass in front, it's turned away. Rebound is held by Andrews. Andrews sets it up towards the high slot. Another flag will fly. This one going against Selah. And Andrews is a bit shaken up behind the net. And Grady Andrews there a bit slow to get up. And you'll see some Selah players take a knee, and the coaching staff will have to hop on out and check on their leading goal scorer. These games can be very grueling, Dylan, and especially on a warmer day, a sunny day on this turf, it can be very unforgiving.
There's been a few cloudy days in years past that I remember, but sunny my junior year season, 2023, 2024 was a night game, so the heat wasn't there, but they're always intense games. Everybody's ready to play. It's the last game of the season. Everybody wants to win, and it makes for an awesome day out here for everybody who's staying around, sticking to watch it. The games that aren't their own program. I'm seeing O'Day fans watching the 2A championship just before the private league is going to play here after this one.
And O'Day will take on Seattle Prep, and that one also will be featured on STSPN's YouTube channel, and you can catch out live coverage as we stick around for the 7:30 game. And a shout out to Scott Osman, who handled the first 2 games of the state championships, handling the 4A and 3A levels. Round by the net as Selah goes to work. Tanner Annika working the perimeter out to Hendrickson. Quick ball movement. They get it in front, and a bounce shot that misses wide over towards the far post. A good shoulder check. Possession held by Seth Height. Up into the air. Low to high shot. Score. Blake Flowers.
Momentum shifting for the Selah Vikings right now. They're really moving the ball from the strong side to the weak side. Dodge, pass. That's what we would always say on our team. Really, cross-feed passes are great if you can do them. Right there, we saw one, low to low, one during the shot. And for goal right there for the Vikings.
That is a terrific assist there as well, coming off the stick of Seth Height, too. That's a tricky pass to make when you're having to send it over not only the net, but a sea of sticks.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he was moving. It's cross crease. And when you got guys cutting, too, that makes it even more difficult.
And Blake Flowers, a talented goal scorer in the playoffs. He's got 7 goals and assist and 8 ground balls. He had 4 goals and 7 grounders in the semifinal game against Anacortes. As Bainbridge picks up possession after a physical faceoff. And the Selah faithful wanted a penalty, and you could actually see a smirk and a shrug from the referee. And you don't see a usual crowd acknowledgement there too much from the folks in stripes.
You'll really hear the parents screaming at the refs at this because, Starfire, all the noise caves over. Our coach would always say, you're not going to be able to hear me, and everybody hears him at games usually because Starfire, really wide field, you can't hear anything, so it's really on the team. They're out there on their own, really figuring things out, and I think that could be part of why Selah was struggling in the first quarter.
Over towards the far side of the offensive zone as Bainbridge gets to work. Nash Irick back out towards Ethan Farley. Were your parents yellers when you were playing?
No, they weren't.
It's probably for the best.
They didn't play lacrosse growing up, so that helped a little bit.
There you go.
They're pretty mild-mannered.
They let you discover your own path. That's good. Up the left side of Heidemann. Gets around Bugney. Heidemann will slow things down over at the near sideline, directing traffic. Cuts one way, fakes another. Holding along the goal line way over on the near side. This is a better job here where Bainbridge hasn't been able to penetrate the middle of the offensive zone quite as easily. As Heidemann is chased by Bugney behind the net. Heidemann up into the air and way over the head of Rosenfeld. Over towards the sideline, and Selah will take possession. And looky here, a nice defensive stand there for Selah. 4.5 left in the second quarter. It is 14-3. Back-to-back goals scored by Andrews and Flowers for the Selah Vikings. As it'll be kicked off from their own zone by Foose, finding on the left side. Selah to work. In the offensive end, Noah Wamsley. Over towards his right, finds Flowers, works his way around a defender. A long stick, a nice steal there for Remington Brown on defense. Up come the Spartans. Heidemann in with numbers, odd man rush. Heidemann, low shot, he scores. He's leveled for his efforts. His helmet pops off after the hit by Bugney, who has Morshett coming over to challenge.
That's a blatantly hit right there. Teammates are getting involved. I mean, second guy always gets blamed, so make sure you don't get the long called on you.
Well, Bugney looks like will be beckoned back over towards the sideline. He may be getting a penalty for this as the flags were flying. And indeed, Bugney will head to the box. As that was a great shot by Mitchell Heidemann, but boy, did he pay a price for it as Heidemann completes the hat trick. His 5th hat trick of the season. Had 2 goals in the first quarter. Not to mention 3 assists, so that's his 6th point of the day. And a response with 4:04 left in the second quarter. It is 15-3 in favor of Bainbridge. And the Spartans will be able to restart things with an offensive zone sequence as well on the ensuing penalty. If you're in a position like that, I know you were an attackman, but as you're being taught how to defend those odd man rushes as a defender, what is the proper course of action? Is it to step up on the ball carrier? Is it defend the pass? What are you taught on a lacrosse level?
Well, if it's a 2v1, you want to split that as long as you can until you eventually have to slide because, if you don't move up to play the guy with the ball who's pushing the goal, he's just going to shoot and score. So you want to eventually slide to play him, but then the guy dodging has to make a decision. Is he going to shoot that before, we saw Bugney hit him, so before the guy comes to hit you, or is he going to pass it to his teammate who can finish there on the backside. So that time, he just finishes it himself.
I think it's an interesting philosophical change because, if I come from a hockey world, and in hockey on a defense and a 2-on-1, you are always taught to play the pass no matter what. Let the goalie worry about the shooter. Don't even really kind of edge on over to him. Just try to take it away with either your body or your stick.
That's making me think about box because, the goal in box lacrosse is similar size to hockey. So it makes sense because if the goalie already has higher save percentages in hockey than lacrosse, of course we're going to leave the shot up to him. So that makes sense to me when I hear it.
Yeah, when it's more condensed, it's easier, I think, as it's over towards the near side post. It's easier on a defensive side to make those kind of decisions in the open space.
And the puck is traveling so fast, he doesn't have time to slide up there. So, of course, he's going to play the pass. That makes sense.
That's true. As Caston Rosenfeld is pursuing the ball, but it's turned over in possession to the Selah Vikings. And Timothy Nelson, the senior, will start things off. Nelson was integral in the playoff victory against Anacortes, 5 grounders fielded. His lone goal of the season came back on March 24th against Southridge, a 10-6 win for the Selah Vikings. From his own zone, Seth Melton. The goalie who has been under siege all afternoon gets it up to Ian Ziegler. Ziegler, who has been an unsung hero as well for Selah this playoff run, with a goal and 8 grounders over the course of their 2 playoff appearances. Muscles his way into the
offside there. Yep. So they're just going to send their man over to play defense because why not? The penalty's already there.
And Flowers finding its way over to its left for Seth Height. Height curling with the ball, gets around William Block. Height carrying in around behind the net. Quick feed broken up with a nice play by Hugh Fields, the netminder.
Might as well get the ball back and go to that's going to blow the play dead. But if you're Selah there, you already got an extra man telling on you. Might as well go to the cage if you can.
As laundry is littered around the field, you count all the flags that have flown. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different flags at one point or another were down on the field. As you see, 3 over on that side, 2 on this side. Still lots to go here in the contest. 2:42 remaining in the second quarter. It is 15-3 in favor of Bainbridge.
More penalties, the more goals. It stops the play, too. It makes the game longer.
That's a long day down there in the sun. It's not quite full summer yet, but it is a nice toasty day. And a gorgeous one for all the families, as you mentioned, that get to stick around and take in the full nature of the complex. And you see all the youth games going on, the all-star games for all the little kids.
It's really a culmination of the entire sport in the state of Washington. You got, speaking of Selah coming from the Tri-Cities, I mean, every region pretty much in the state is represented here, and they're all coming to a great complex where everybody can play. You don't have multiple fields. It's not like a tournament. So it's really awesome to see a bunch of different fans, from lots of different programs that you may not have known other than what you're playing in your league.
And I think it's great that Washington is growing in that sense for lacrosse, because lacrosse is such an East Coast dominated sport. And you get to see that firsthand being a student now at Syracuse, which is one of the more prominent lacrosse programs in the country.
Yeah, whenever Mercer Island would go over on the East Coast, and a lot of other programs have done it, would go west as well, like Arizona or California.
There's a terrific feed and a terrific fake there. Great deep there by Ethan Farley.
The sport is slowly making its way west, and you see that in Denver. California has some really great programs down there. Torrey Pines and St. Ignatius come to mind down there.
Now, lacrosse games at Cuse played at the Carrier Dome, and
JMA now.
Yes,
yeah.
Correct.
No, you're good.
And it's one of the most famed locations.
Definitely,
sport,
it's almost like a lacrosse mecca. It's kind of like the Garden in Boston, and so it's a great atmosphere. I only went to one game during this year, which was the Notre Dame versus Cuse game, and that was going against the defending 2-time national champions. And Syracuse won that. They actually lost today to Maryland. So the championship is set. It's going to be Cornell versus Maryland, if we're talking college for a second.
Nice.
But, yeah, the Dome it's kind of like here. The noise really funnels over.
There's a nice setup in front, a quick one-timer, and there's a hat trick for Caston Rosenfeld. What a feed, tic-tac-toe. Rosenfeld taking the setup from Ethan Farley. And now the freshman has himself a hattie.
You get a hat trick. You get a hat trick. You get a hat trick.
The distribution of the offense has been superb for Bainbridge as they are now up 17-3 with 2:15 left in the second quarter. In less than one half, they have matched their highest offensive output for the season.
And what's amazing about that, you're talking about distribution, is nobody's really getting greedy here for Bainbridge. You know, in a game where everything's going right, a few guys might want to take control and stat pad a little bit, but multiple guys getting hat tricks is a good sign, I'd say.
And not only that, you're seeing it come from a variety of different ages, too. Mitchell Heidemann is a junior. Rosenfeld is a freshman. It's not all just the seniors dominating. Yes, you have the senior Morshed, but you're seeing just how good this Bainbridge program will be even next year, too.
Really deep team with a lot of grades helps, for sure.
Stepping in is Miles Foose as Foose loses control, and it's taken away and twirled by Seth Melton, a junior himself, and over towards the near sideline. Battle for it as it's one away from Levi Lynch, picked up by Heidemann. And Lynch was all by himself on that near sideline. Set up towards Farley, who lost control of it. It was swiped away. Chopping down on the ball is Rosenfeld, loose on the goal line, and it's just kept away. That was a slow motion trickler towards the goal line. Over on the near sideline. And established by Selah as Tanner Annika, the sophomore. Stolen away at midfield. Streaking in, Quentin Faust, the junior. Slowing it down is Aaron Lawley. Lawley with 8 multi-goal contests this season. This, astonishingly, has not been one of them, as he only has 1 goal out of the 17. But we had 29 goals in the regular season. That was second best on the squad. Did have the most assists of anyone with 23 in 15 games played. And you talk about the unselfishness nature of the Bainbridge Spartans offense. They have so many guys that are not only double-digit goal scorers, but double-digit assist men as well. Of course, a skipping shot, and they score from distance. A terrific low shot by the sophomore, Finn Walker.
Walker's going to do a sidearm bouncer there. Looks like it's almost going to get 2 bounces. He's really far. That was outside the box. Puts it bottom down.
And that's one where there's not a whole lot of movement from Selah in their own defensive zone. They're getting caught flat-footed. Perhaps they're trying to run out the clock with 17.8 seconds left. For Walker, that is his first goal since April 10th. A goal that he scored at Kennedy Catholic in a 15-8 W for the Spartans. And with that, a historic high for Bainbridge, as they have now scored 18 goals, the most in any game this season, and they do so with still seconds remaining in the first half of the 2A state championship. Face-off is won back by Bainbridge, a spinorama there by Noah Weiss, 10 seconds remaining in the half. Weiss charging forward himself, hunting for one more. Heiss with a shot right into the breadbasket of Melton. 2 seconds and 1, and that will do it for the first half.
If I'm Melton, I'm sending that one into the sky. You don't want to be running out there with it in your stick. You never know what can happen.
Well, nonetheless, begrudgingly back to the sideline for Selah. Jubilance over on the Bainbridge half as the Spartans, with as dominant a showing as you can hope for in the first half of a state championship game.
I'll tell you, that's the first time I've heard of 18 goals in the first half of a state game.
That is quite the statement made there by the Spartans. They get 6 goals off the stick of Henry Morshed. Hat tricks completed by Ethan Farley, Mitchell Heidemann, and Caston Rosenfeld. What a performance in the first half. Well, we'll take a breather ourselves as we recoup from a 21-goal first half. Casey Bryant alongside the state champion Dylan Shobe. When we come back, we'll have live coverage of the second half of Selah and Bainbridge, the Washington 2A state championship for boys lacrosse here at Starfire Sports Stadium.
Grab an energy drink after this one. Thank you. I appreciate it. I was just gonna say I was rocking on.
Back now at Starfire Sports Stadium, Casey Bryant alongside Dylan Job for the second half of the Washington 2A State Championship for boys lacrosse, where the Bainbridge Spartans opened up a 18-3 lead over the Selah Vikings. And what a first half for the Bainbridge Spartans, eclipsing their previous season high for goals all over the course of 24 minutes, powered, of course, by 6 goals for Henry Morshed. What a terrific first half there for Bainbridge, Dylan.
You know, I was really impressed with how Bainbridge was moving the ball around the horn. You know, they're doing a great job dodging from X and also dodging from up top, setting a lot of picks, so make sure to keep your eyes peeled for that.
An opening faceoff in the third quarter was won by Bainbridge, and in the first half, Bainbridge was 20-3 on the faceoff dot. And we talked earlier in the game about the old lacrosse cliche where games are won on the ground. Well, so much of that possession of the faceoff ones has translated to shots.
Yeah, I mean, look at it, 18-3 and 20-3 on faceoff. Ground balls win games, and currently that's the truth.
And not only that, you also look at the shot discrepancy, too, where right now Bainbridge 22 shots on goal to Selah's 7. And they've scored on 18 of those 22 shots.
Yeah, 18 for 22, 3 for 7. It's a lot more impressive for Bainbridge with that ratio, a lot larger sample size than Selah. So if I'm Selah, I want to get shots second half, but I also want to be a goldfish. We talked about that earlier. You know, forget about the first half. The game is 0-0 now, and I know you got to come up with 15 goals somehow, but don't worry about that. Take it one play at a time. Cliches are cliches for a reason.
Well, they're tried and true at this point, you know. You say it enough, and it becomes reality, as you see Sam Fredrickson charging up the right side. He took some heavy pressure and ran out of bounds, and so possession will go to Bainbridge. And with that short memory, so much of that comes from being able to slow things down. We talked about it in the second quarter later in particular. It seemed like Selah was doing a better job of keeping to their tempo on both ends of the field. Over to his left, Lolly with a shot, getting a piece of it was Seth Melton.
Lolly, a lot of heat with the sidearm right there.
Now, probably sailing high over the net even if Melton doesn't get a piece of it, but nonetheless able to tip it off of the very end of his netting. Down behind the net, Heidemann popping in front. Heidemann spinning at the near post. Out in front, batted away, scooped up by Farley, who keeps it at a full stick's length away. Nash Irick with a low shot, that's rejected. All the way back out to open field. Battle for the ball, loose underneath the feet. Who's going to get it? Ranging over with some power is Corbin Schlenker for Selah, but it's won away by Bainbridge. Still jostling. On the ground over towards the far sideline, jockeying for possession. Knocked at by Schlenker over towards the sideline and picked up by Bainbridge. Taking the step up are the Spartans. Ira over to his right for Heidemann. Heidemann in the first half, 3 goals, 3 assists. Twirling it confidently in his cradle, popping in front over towards the far side of your screen. Heidemann a load a shot, and that misses the net wide over towards the end line. Possession still to Bainbridge. And Heidemann tries that play in particular so often where he cuts out from behind the net over towards the post. Morshed with a low shot, it squeaks through, they score. 7th goal of the game for Morshed.
I feel like Melton's having a little trouble with the 5-hole. A lot of the shots that are low, you know, changing the play, going high from low, it's a lot harder to read the ball, especially, talk about that a lot with long pole shooting. It's really hard when you got a 6-foot pole, you're coming down the field, and that ball's coming from elevated 10 feet high in the air all the way down. So same thing with the shorty, just a few feet lower. So those low shots do sneak up on you a little bit.
19th goal of the game scored by Bainbridge, 7th off the stick of Henry Morshed, who now has tied a season-best 7 goals back on March 24th against Peninsula. Had 10 points that night. Now he's up to 8. As there's a face-off won by Noah Weiss. Weiss has taken all but 2 of the face-offs for the Bainbridge Spartans. The other 2 were taken and won by Dylan Jones, the senior. And back to work are the Spartans as there's Farley looking in front for Cruz Gonzalez. It's off his stick, picked up by Morshed, unable to get it through towards the net. Over on the near side, Cruz Gonzalez, the freshman, getting some some play as he draws a flag. Gonzalez takes a hardy stick check. Gonzalez trying to split the defense. Spin move, good possession. A jump shot, and that misses wide, but it's picked up by Heidemann. Heidemann popping free out in front for Farley off the toe of his stick and picked up by Selah.
I feel like that's a little too much from Gonzalez there. You want to just move it. If you had all that pressure on you, you're tired, you're trying to do too much. He's got, the kick-up shot with the leg, and, thankfully Bainbridge would get it back, but, you want to be really smart with the ball there if you're on offense and you just faced a lot of pressure.
I'm sure a lot of it is that Cruz Gonzalez, we haven't heard his name called too much in the contest. He's excited. He's getting back. He's getting out there in a state championship
It's a big
game.
part of it. I can't lie. Like, if you're in this game, you do want to score. You want to get the team fired up and show everybody who came out to watch you, aunts, uncles, even grandparents, all your friends usually are here for the game. So you want to score.
You got a big crowd on hand. A lot of people representing each school. 6.5 minutes remaining in the third corner, playing with a running clock here with a 16-goal discrepancy as Heidemann pops in front. A low shot is turned away by the legs of Seth Melton. A good save there. Heidemann gets possession back. Heidemann directing traffic up into the air. Some misdirection, a low shot, and a stop. Protecting the 5-hole that time is Melton, turning away the shot of Morshed. Well, that 5-hole area is so difficult to protect as a netminder. And, we talked about box lacrosse a little earlier in the contest. The comical difference in padding when you see the box lacrosse goaltender compared to an open field lacrosse. As in comes Selah in a shot and a nice shot.
About padding right there. It takes one to the neck.
And you see him working out his collarbone a little bit as Hugh Fields taking a bruise to make a play. And up the right side with some speed is Caston Rosenfeld. Does a nice
Behind
move.
the back move, if my eyes don't mistake me.
Rosenfeld setting up an opportunity there for Foose, who steps in. Drawing some contact, throwing it back towards Heidemann. And Bainbridge will slow things down with 5:15 left in the third quarter. That was a terrific setup there by Rosenfeld. Entering in a shot that misses wide off the stick of Nash Irick over towards the near sideline, and Irick will keep possession for Bainbridge. Irick out towards Caston Rosenfeld. Rosenfeld, a consistent presence on the stat sheet for Bainbridge. Goals in 13 of 16 outings heading into today, and he can make it 14 of 17 as he finds the back of the net on cue. Rosenfeld, who already had himself a hat trick in the first half, finds the back of the net once more with his fourth. Caston Rosenfeld's previous season high was 5 goals in an 11-4 win at West Seattle back on April 3rd. And he's one away as Bainbridge has officially hit the 20 mark. And what a time for your best offensive showing in a state championship game. It's a great experience that you get at this particular facility, Dylan. You said that you've traveled an awful lot for your lacrosse experience. Where would you say is the best place that you've ever had a lacrosse game that you've been able to play at?
I mean, recency bias is making me want to say Starfire, but if we're talking...
You don't got to pump their tires too much. They already know they're good.
No. I really enjoy the full experience you get on state weekend. You get the locker room. You can, a lot of trainer access. You have your own room prior to the game, so the music gets going. You fist bumps with the guys. You get your own makeshift lockers too. So if you don't have that at your high school, it's a cool experience. But the field, I wasn't that big of a fan of because it's really wide, like I said, and the noise. Although it makes the moment really intense and a big spectacle, you can't hear what your coach is saying, and it's hard to communicate.
It's disorienting.
Yeah, so the week before, you really want to make sure you're playing like it's state every single practice. But traveling east, some of my favorite places we played, Long Island was pretty fun. It's really hot there. But those trips we would always do for 1 week or 2 weeks for weekend tournaments in the summer, just getting better in the off season. those teams, I mean, when people talk about the East Coast and lacrosse, they mean it. It's a different speed. It's kind of like if you play soccer and you go to England, or if you go to Italy or Portugal, any of those places in Europe, sort of the same thing. It's just faster. It's where the game kind of grew when this country began.
Sure. Being a New Yorker, I can attest that when you're certain parts of Long Island, you're from Hauppauge, you're born with a lacrosse stick in your hand. So that's just part of your upbringing.
And it's almost a different, like, I talk about speed. That's not just the stick. It's like the kids are faster, too.
Sure.
It's not only, like, out in Washington State, I think you get a lot of big physical players, myself included in that bunch. But out on the East, it's like almost soccer players. Some kids will play soccer in the fall and then play lacrosse in the spring. They're really thin, but very shifty and still can shoot very fast. That was a fast shot right there.
Whip of a shot off the stick of Cruz Gonzalez. It is true, though, because like you get certain styles depending on where you're born, where you play. I think that one of the stereotypes of baseball is that you're able to find, the better pitchers where it's warmer year round. The Texas of the world, the Floridas of the world.
Really? I didn't know that.
I think that's kind of where just if it's warmer year round, you're just constantly able to keep your arm in that shape. If you're a hockey player, you find, the better talents in Canada, actually, or where it's colder, where you have more access to rinks. But you're starting to see the conversation around that change now that some of the better players come from like Arizona, like Austin Matthews. And in lacrosse, it's funny that you touch on the stylistic differences of, the geography of it all. The bigger physical guys may be coming more from out west.
I would say so. And there's always a lot of hot debate between, is Maryland the best? Is New Jersey the best? Is New York the best? How about upstate? How about Long Island? Because it's almost like states within states a little bit. And then you got high schools like the Hill Academy in Canada. So a lot of different styles to assess. And I just remember one of the first few times we were playing a tournament. It was the National High School Lacrosse Showcase. So some of the best schools in the country. You have MIAA schools, McDonough, Calvert Hall, some of those teams that win national championships every year between the greatest teams on the East Coast perennially. And I just remember seeing some of the kids dodging from X, like we're seeing a lot from Bainbridge Island today. And it was like different, like he had an entire different gear.
Sure.
Like one of these kids just slinging sidearm passes on the run, full speed, like through the crease. It's just, it's a little bit like we're seeing with Bainbridge Island, once again, like through the crease passes, but just the amount of skill they have with pressure on them, that's the big difference from west to east, I'd say, is a lot of kids struggle with when they go to college after playing on the West Coast their entire life is having that stick in your hands. Mm-hmm. Everybody can spend the same amount of time, but on the East Coast, it's just a different amount of passion for the game, I'd say. And then also just being able to get the ball off in really tough situations.
Yeah, the chemistry of it all, the access to the coaching year-round, I'm sure that's a major part of it. As the clock begins once more, there's 1 minute and 40 seconds left in the third quarter. 20-3 is your score as Bainbridge heads back to work on the offensive side of things. Nash Eyrich trotting over to his right, holding on his right shoulder. He's got defender right in front of him throwing a hearty cross-check in Timothy Nelson. Wrap-around try and a shot sent away by Seth Melton. Starting to see a few more stops out of Melton here in the second half.
Love those saves from goalies where, they stand up on their toes. They really get up top with it.
You can't be too conservative as a goalie, right? There is some measure where you have to know when to step out and challenge the shooter when they're coming in.
And in state, you want to establish it early, too. I mean, Melton's had a tough time in this game. Bainbridge Island came out really hot. But as soon as you can get hot, it's kind of like baseball hitting, use whatever sports analogy you want. It's like building that momentum and getting that confidence. It's huge for goalies.
Absolutely. And I think that anytime that you're a goaltender, whether it's hockey, lacrosse, soccer, you want to feel your touches. You want to feel like you're in the flow of the game, and you want to feel like you've felt the ball on you. You've felt the puck on you. You've felt, that you've had a hand in the flow of the game. Because if you have to wait too long, or if the first couple get by you, all of a sudden you're in your head, you forget about how it feels to have the ball on your shoulder. As there's a rising shot and they score. First goal of the half.
And while the goalie is a part of the defense, he's really on an island in there. We called it 6-on-6 in scrimmage for a reason, because it's really the 6 defenders against the 6 offensive players. So they're going to be in their head every time there's a goal or there's something they didn't like about how they were protecting the cage on a certain play. They're self-ridiculing themselves because the coach in the huddle, he's never going, hey, that was your fault, the ball went in. One out of 1,000 times that might happen.
Right.
You know, but that's probably because the goalie was behind the cage and forgot to get back in or was trying to do too much, being too physical on a ground ball scrum or something.
Sure.
So goalies are really individual, but they also at the same time have to manage an entire defense. And you're going to hear just in all of these games that you watch, especially at state championship level for high school varsity teams, the goalie is shouting at the defenseman a lot of the time. You know, slide, fire, fire. You know, we need 2 slide here. You're hot. Just grabbing names, throwing numbers around.
Well, you see it.
You know, recognizing the other team, what they're going to do, and then also how to respond to that, while they're also trying to make sure they're not getting scored on at the same time. So it's really tough.
You're trying to direct traffic. You're trying to keep in your own mind state dialed. As to round out the scoring, by the way, that was Heidemann again. Mitchell Heidemann with his 4th goal of the contest, 3rd goal of the quarter scored by Bainbridge to make it 21-3 at the end of 3 quarters. And, you know, goaltending, pitching, you know, those rare isolated positions in sports, it can often feel like the loneliest place in the world, especially when things aren't going your way. One of my favorite quotes is from Ken Dryden, who was a longtime goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens in the National Hockey League, where he goes, how would you like it if at your job every time you screwed up a light went on and 20,000 people yelled at you? That's how it can feel when you're in lacrosse and when you're in hockey and when you're in one of those isolated sports. When you're a pitcher, you've got the ball in your hand. You know, it's a fascinating look into the psyche of any given athlete. You have to have a tough skin if you're going to be in those positions.
Yeah, and they're usually a different breed. You're speaking of tough skin, like a lot of these guys are nut jobs on the field or off the field too, personality-wise. That
extends to lacrosse as well, does it? The old goalies are weird?
Oh, yes, definitely. For sure.
What's the weirdest superstition that you've seen, either by yourself or one of your teammates? As charging in a nice move here and a good stop there by Hugh Fields.
I would say one of my teammates would bring the same. I mean, I won't mention his name, but he'll know if he hears this clip for sure. But he would bring. It's not. I wouldn't say it's weird. I think it's fine totally. But some people might, I don't know, like raise their eyebrows for it. He would still bring around the same blanket he would have as a little baby and a kid for sleeping before the night before games, and then. There's one that's on the tip of my tongue with another player, but that's one that sticks in my mind pretty saliently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just one to think about.
Hey, no, it's whatever works, man. However, you got to feel comfortable, you know.
Yeah.
That's
I had one my junior year. I was convinced that whenever I wore long socks, we lost the game. So, or whenever it was whenever I wore ankle socks. So I stopped wearing them because I liked the style more for ankle socks when I was wearing my cleats. And then I was like, no, I swear we were losing big games whenever I wear these. I got to go back to long socks. So I think if you turn on 2023 state championship for Mercer Island Bellevue, you'll see me wearing long socks.
Fair enough.
On that one.
Fair enough. 10:40 left in the 4th quarter, 21-3, and the airborne pass sailed way over the head of everybody, and Selah will get possession of the ball at midfield. I'm sure every athlete. My mother was a Division I softball player back in the day for CW Post in Long Island, played Staten Island Saints at the pro level, and she was always very neurotic where she had to do everything right side first. You know, right side sock, then left side. Right side cleat, then left side. It's different.
That's
strokes.
weird because did she grow up learning English? Because like left to right is how you're going to write and read. So that's what I'm thinking.
I don't know how it began.
How did that reverse?
I don't know how it began, as there's a good save by Hugh Fields. But it worked for her well enough to get her where she's the most accomplished athlete in the family. And, you know, I would listen to like the same music because I was a baseball player through college, and you know I listen to the same music before every game, you know, in the same order. Write the same thing on the inside of your hat. I don't think it was anything too over the top. You know, you see some goalies where they have to tap the posts with their stick in a certain rhythm, a certain pattern. Some of them can get real dicey. There's Andrews over with it on the far sideline, getting it over towards Noah Wamsley. Up into the air, it lands into the cradle of Sam Fredrickson as Fredrickson charges up the right side. Fredrickson back out towards the slot. Flowers holding.
Selah's looking a lot more comfortable with the ball. Just in terms of passing, a lot faster passes they're running to and from. I'm liking it.
Absolutely. Their pace seems a lot more controlled as you see Seth Height under pressure as he's got Quentin Faust on him over by the far sideline. And you see some of these defenders for Bainbridge. There's a good pickoff and a rising effort there by Nash Irick to steal that away. It's been a great cohesive effort from Bainbridge in their own zone where even if they're not getting touches of the ball, they're in possession. They're constantly applying pressure on the ball carrier. Taking the step in, Ayala looking down low, unencumbered shot, they score. Andrews.
Just an uneven situation right there. You had the interception and then lost the ball trying to clear it. So Selah gets it back and some guys left home alone. You always got to have a few guys left back if you're Bainbridge there. Something to learn from on that possession.
Grady Andrews with his second goal and third point of the contest. He's had points on 3 of the 4 goals scored by Selah. And that's a setup there, a terrific one by Dominic Ayala. As Selah had 2 men right in front of the netminder there, with nary a defender in their area code. And so it is 21-4 with 8 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. Face-off won by Bainbridge, and racing ahead is Noah Weiss. Over to his left for Mitchell Heidemann. And Heideman's shot is turned away. Loose in front. Heidemann scores. Mitchell Heidemann came in together close with Seth Melton in front. And the 22nd goal of the game scored by the Bainbridge Spartans. Second of the half scored by Mitchell Heidemann. Brings him up to 5 goals on the contest. And 7:15 left running clock as mentioned, as the Bainbridge Spartans playing in their first state championship game since 2011 can taste victory just minutes away. Another faceoff won by Noah Weiss. Weiss is hauled down from behind. The ball picked up by Selah. And a running clock as Bainbridge will settle things down and establish possession once more as Noah Weiss was hauled down. And boy, Weiss has been dominant on the face-off dot. And that has been all the difference in the world. Over to the right side, Finn Walker. Walker works it back to Lolly. Lolly, who in the first half, a goal and 5 assists. Lolly bouncing off a defender. Lolly hunting towards the net and a low to high that sails high over the net. A terrific setup there for Lolly. Time ticking away. Bainbridge still with possession. Heidemann looking over towards the near side post. And kicked at by Selah as Drew Miller trying to win it away. Held in by Bainbridge. Round behind the net, Mitchell Heidemann. There's a shot that rings off the crossbar off the stick of Henry Morshed as he was hunting for his 8th goal. Flag will fly. Low shot. Misses wide, picked up by Heidemann. And Heidemann evading a defender. Final 5 minutes of play here in the 2A state championship. Coming up after this at 7:30, we'll have live coverage of Seattle Prep against O'Day in the private division championship. Out in front and a chance that's turned away as Morshed is denied by Seth Melton. Time ticking away. That's a terrific stop there by Melton, who in these last couple of quarters has seen the ball a lot better. He's been able to come up with some terrific stops for Selah. And you get the sense that someone like Seth Melton, who over the course of the season had a .482 save percentage, was inundated with 278 shots against heading into this game. He was 9-4 in the regular season. He'll come back as a senior next year, and he'll be one of the sturdier backstops in the division, really in the league. Heidemann over to his left, finding Miles Foose. Backdoor feed, and they score. Aston Rosenfeld, his 5th goal of the contest, and make it 24 for Bainbridge. An explosive performance as Aston Rosenfeld got the feed from Ethan Farley. And Farley with 4 points as a senior in the state championship game. And of course, you give all the flowers in the world to the seniors on both sides of the ball playing in this, their final high school game. The seniors for the Selah Vikings: number 1, Jason Clark; number 7, Timothy Nelson; number 12, Dominic Ayala; number 22, Seth Height; number 23, Owen Hirsch; number 43, Chase Bugney; number 51, Isaac Perez; and number 93, Peyton Henkel. Under 3 minutes to play here in the 4th quarter. As for the Bainbridge Spark, meanwhile, the seniors: number 8, Ethan Farley; number 25, Dylan Jones; number 27, Remington Brown; number 29, Nash Irick; and number 35, Henry Morshed. A young squad for the Bainbridge Spartans. So many freshmen and sophomores that have made their presence felt. You get the sense that they'll be back and even better than ever next year, as they'll get another year of Lolly, and there's a bouncing shot that misses over the net, well wide by Dylan Jones. And you're starting to see the seniors take the field for one last spin on either side. And from X, over on the right side, finding Jones. Jones around a defender. Jones, low shot that skips wide. And possession still to Bainbridge, under 2 minutes left. Calling for it was Rudy Otepka. It's won away by Selah. And racing forward is Fredrickson. Fredrickson dumps it in down low. Back in front for Fredrickson. Behind the back is turned away. Fredrickson looking for the highlight reel goal. 90 seconds remaining in the game, and the long stick carried forth by Remington Brown. And Brown gets it towards the net. It's turned away. And here's Drew Miller over on the near side. Skies it ahead looking for Flowers. Flowers has an open man in front. Elects not to send it over towards Tanner Onica, the sophomore, who was all alone in front of the net. Timothy Nelson is in, breaks through a defender, loses control of the ball, swipes it up into the air. At the far side post, it's knocked down. Final minute of play. Up the right side with some speed. Bainbridge into the attacking end, Nash Irick. Spinning with the ball, 40 seconds left. Knocked away by Selah. Entering in on the near side, Flowers with a shot, he scores. Blake Flowers, the freshman. And with 20 seconds left in the contest, the final goal of the game will go to the way of the Selah Vikings. But the victory and the state championship belongs to the Bainbridge Spartans. Time ticks away, and Bainbridge takes this one by a 23-5 final. A dominant showing. And in their first state championship game since 2011. A game that Bainbridge lost 5-3 at Mercer Island. They come up with a W and a state title. And an unbelievable performance all around by the Bainbridge Spartans. 7 goals on the part of Henry Morshed. And we have down on field level Dylan Schob, who will be tracking down Henry in just a moment after the celebrations. And Henry Morshed, a senior, able to go out on top with the best of performances. He saved his top goal-scoring outing for last. Meanwhile, for the Selah Vikings, some terrific contributions over the course of the year. They will have lots to replace in the absence of Dominic Ayala and Seth Height next year. But I tell you, some good foundational pieces on either side as the Bainbridge Spartans cap off their year. They were 9-5 in league in overall play, 4-0 in the league. And a terrific completion here. Now, Dylan, can you hear us down from center field? Yeah, I can hear you coming in a little hot. You can bring the mic away. There you go. So now, Dylan, I mean, that's an excellent performance they see down there. I know that they're going through the handshake line right now. What do you remember about going through the handshake line when you won a championship?
Well, the first time, this is my junior year, I hate to admit it down there for the people, I missed the handshake line because we were celebrating so hard the first time we won that the people I was with celebrating, my friends who didn't play lacrosse but were in the stands, were like, "Oh, you missed the handshake line." It was like already through. And I was like, "Oh, I'm not making it back." So I made it a point my senior year to, some sportsmanship is really what it's all about, to make it back to the handshake line. So
good man.
Yeah, I did it my senior year, but junior year I forgot to. Fine, Henry Morshed for you guys.
Absolutely, and as Dylan hunts down number 35 in white, a recap of the action: the Bainbridge Spartans 23-5 victors over the Selah Vikings. And Selah participating in their first ever state championship game, and obviously a terrific opportunity for them getting that kind of experience. It looks like Dylan has lined things up. And Dylan, understand you've got the man of the hour, 7-time goal scorer in Henry Morshed. Take it away.
I do. The 7-time goal scorer today, gets Bainbridge's state championship. Their first appearance since 2011, like we were talking about all day. Take me through what it means at Bainbridge Island's first state championship since 2011, and now bringing it home back to the island with your guys. What does that mean to you?
I mean, it means so much to me. It means so much to my coach and my team. It means everything. And I think Selah coming out and playing us, loving the team. They giving us competition, going out and make it their way.
You guys came out really hot with the offense. What was kind of what Coach Visco might have told you in the huddle before the game? What was point of emphasis for the offense to make sure to get a lot of goals in?
Well, we wanted to run our offense, the one we were running all the year. That we can do to bring it home. All of it was just confidence that we can do it, and just play and play off.
For you, what was the big success? Cutting, dodging, scoring. What do you think you did best?
Well, I feel like Crease, I remember Crease was sticking there, but they were sliding early, so it was open a lot. Had one of my teammates. It was a great game.
Perfect. Thank you so much to you and your team. Have a great one.
Thank you so much for that, Dylan. As you see there, Henry Morshed, our STSPN player of the game, 7 goals and an assist over the course of a 23-5 drubbing in the state championship game. That'll just about wrap things up here from Starfire Sports Stadium for the 2A championship. Stay with us, as coming up in just over an hour, we've got the private school championship between O'Day and Seattle Prep. You won't want to miss it. Dylan and I will be back on the call for that one, and that one's going to feature a lot of future D1 talent. You won't want to miss it. A hearty congratulations to the state championship at the 2A division, the Bainbridge Spartans. For all of us here at STSPN, Todd Elvig, the man in the chair, I'm Casey Bryant. Have a good night.